Hello, I'm Frank Flournoy, and I'd like to thank you for joining me and the rest of Group 2 as we discuss the J.C. Company and its involvement with now ex-CEO Rob Johnson. Founded in 1902 by Midwestern businessman James Cash Penney, the company grew rapidly during the early 20th century, eventually operating 1,000 stores by 1928. J.C. reached its peak number of stores in 1973 with 2,053 stores. Dedication to the customer and strong internal leadership had for years instilled a sense of stability within the company. Since its founding more than 100 years ago, management, along with management styles, have varied greatly. At different times during the company's long history, management has focused on a variety of new and innovative techniques to promote their product and enable the company to function smoothly. J.C. was a pioneer in issuing credit cards to customers and was a major competitor in the sale of goods through catalog. At different times, the company has owned an array of drugstores and discount merchandise outlets. However, over the years, the popularity of J.C. and their clothing line had begun to steadily decline. In 2010, under the leadership of J.C. board member William Ackman, the company fired Myron Holman, their longtime CEO. This act was seen by many as an attempt to give their wilting brand a needed jolt. The company then shifted their focus to a man who appeared to hold all the answers to how a modern retail store should function. This man was Ron Johnson, and some sources indicate that J.C. spent almost $170 million on bonuses alone to bring him to the company. I'd now like to hand it over to John for a further discussion of Mr. Johnson's short career at J.C.
Ron Johnson was the CEO of J.C. for a mere 14 months before experiencing a 25% decline in sales. Before his tenure at J.C. Mr. Johnson was the chief executive in charge of reinventing retail at Apple Incorporated. Mr. Johnson hoped to bring similar business process changes to J.C. and reap the benefits of increased sales. Mr. Johnson's first move of the business process change was to eliminate the current pricing policies in place. The current pricing policies were marking up prices and then offering discounts, heavy promotions, and coupons at specific intervals to bring in customers. However, Johnson would rather offer more interesting products from lines such as Martha Stewart and Joe Fresh at reasonable prices all year round. He believed this to be an excellent organizational opportunity for the company. However, in the end, most customers felt alienated from the lack of coupons and mail-in messages. Additionally, Johnson implemented an organizational change by completely removing the old dress code as well as eliminating cash registers. Instead, Johnson allowed employees to wear casual clothing and began implementing mobile devices for a means of checkout. In the end, this totaled a net loss of $985 million. Johnson ultimately took away the control from the consumer, and that's exactly what consumers of J.C. are looking for when they come to the store. They like to shop on their time, on their dime, and in their location. Now, Carrie will give you an update on the consequences of these decisions and Johnson's plan as a whole.
Thanks, John. A lot of trust was put in the new CEO, Ron Johnson, for the company's top executives felt that if he could turn a high-tech company like Apple Incorporated stores into a success, he could surely do the same for J.C. However, this was not the case. As John previously stated, J.C. ultimately ended up with a 25% drop in sales this past fiscal year. The stock on J.C. also fell by 50%. This is quite a turnaround from the 17% increase in shares the day after Johnson was hired, which was J.C.'s biggest gain in more than a decade. J.C. is now trading at a 73% discount to its annual revenue, the second cheapest among U.S. department store chains, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. Setbacks have left its equity priced at 27 cents for each dollar of revenue, which lags behind competing companies like Macy's, Nordstrom's, Dillard's, and Kohl's. In February of this year, J.C. reported their annual revenue dropped to $13 billion, which was its lowest since 1987. A big mistake that was made by J.C. was choosing to focus on building the traditional retail instead of focusing on the growth of online shopping. With the growth of technology, online shopping is increasingly becoming popular among frequent shoppers. Sites like Amazon.com were destroying profit and revenue gains for J.C. By eliminating their main look of promotion and sales, J.C. saw a lot of his faithful customers depart. Eventually, the actions towards rebuilding J.C. not only backfired on them, but left the company in drastic turmoil. With more on where Ron Johnson went wrong with JCPenney, here's Taylor.
It's clear that Ron Johnson did not achieve what he wanted with JCPenney, but why exactly did he fail? First, he misread what shoppers wanted. Shopping for many consumers is all just a game. Shoppers are accustomed to the "how much you saved today" line at the bottom of their receipts. The higher that number, the higher the score they achieved. Ron Johnson took that achieving feeling away from shoppers at JCPenney. His fair and square everyday low pricing strategy made very logical sense. However, shoppers are not looking for logic. They are hunting for deals via coupons or markdowns in order to achieve that high savings score. He also alienated JCPenney's core consumers by removing their coupons and sales, trying to make JCPenney a more hip shopping experience. Ron Johnson made many of the chain's most loyal customers feel as if they were not JCPenney's target market anymore. He didn't test any ideas in advance. The reason Johnson misread what shoppers wanted in the first place was because he didn't ask them. When asked about the possibility of trying new pricing strategies on a testing basis, Johnson always responded with, "We didn't test at Apple." And lastly, his biggest mistake was failing to recognize that JCPenney was and is still not Apple. Apple's retail stores operate with highly unique strategies. Their ability to control distribution and price points of their retail products give them an upper hand in their market. Shoppers cannot go to the store next door and find the same product at a lower price. This is very different from JCPenney's that operates in the competitive market of department stores. The new pricing strategies in redesigned stores were not strong enough to offset the competition that was lurking right around the corner. Overall, Johnson did not take the time to really consider what the JCPenney shoppers really wanted. Instead of focusing on turning JCPenney into a retailer like Apple, Johnson should have focused more on what the shopper wanted and how he could please them. Now on to Brian with JCPenney's solution for fixing these problems.
Thanks, Taylor. In an attempt to right the ship, JCPenney has brought on former CEO Mike Ullman to replace Ron Johnson and navigate them out of their current troubled waters. In an interview with CNBC, Ullman stated that his number one priority was reconnecting with the customer and that he wants to regain the price versus value perception. It appears as though Mike Ullman's first step is apologizing to the customer and letting them know that they intend to make things right. It also involves a huge social media push to get their message out and appears to be working. JCPenney's Facebook page received over 50,000 likes in response to a post stating, "We're listening and we're changing." This was shared over 3,200 times and was Twitter's top trending topic of the day on May 2nd of this year. On the listening end, JCPenney has received over 16,500 comments and suggestions on how to make things better. Not only does the strategy give the folks at JCPenney free market analysis, it helps the customers feel like they are helping and are part of the process to making JCPenney great again. Unfortunately for Mike, repairing the relationship between JCPenney is not the only hurdle to overcome. According to an article in the Huffington Post, employee morale is at disastrous levels. Upon the firing of Ron Johnson, one employee was quoted as saying, "I saw store employees crying with excitement and joy. They told me, thankfully, someone has finally listened to us. I just hope it's not too late to save JCPenney." Rebuilding the trust of its employees is going to be key, and leadership will have to make its employees believe in them and the direction of the company. As Mike and JCPenney look to recapture its former customers, there is an apparent need to get back to JCPenney's roots of deep discounting, coupons, and sales. In a poll of JCPenney's former customers, over half said they would return to JCPenney if things went back to the way they were. While Mr. Ullman was quoted as saying, "We're looking forward, not back," it's clear that JCPenney will need to take a few cues from its past in order to succeed in the future.